Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you
Banning
continue because
women
you'll never win another race.
from
The
women's
NCAA
sports
has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well,
Not here.
are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports.
Did you see this?
You better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
I agree.
Every state,
I agree.
Good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
I'll see, and I'll show you
Enjoy
why.
your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
I'm so sorry. She should step away right away. And look at this, and I'll show you why. Do not allow woke, transgender, and LGBTQ in children's schools when the children are too young to decide. Also, it is not the first substance of being. It is not human to be transgender. It is a scientific object that is a secondary being. Inner cities need to be restored in education across America. Illiteracy is predominant in many democratic states, which is Maine. In Maine, Maine has democratic people, and she wants to keep transgender. We need to think about our children. Smaller businesses need to be developed. These are reasons why the transgender, we cannot have transgender and LGBTQ woke. Since Kamala and Biden and the regime of the Democratic Liberal Party in non-constitutional communities are trying to control children in woke systems. Children cannot be brainwashed and obstructed of their true selves by woke systems of scientific sex changes and emotionally instability of gender. Their critical and emotional welfare needs to be protected. They do not have the capacity to differentiate facts, emotional positions, we need to give children education that relies on critical thinking with absolutes. Please see my list of solutions. This is the book I'm talking about of our need, In God's Power, America Save Our Legacy. In God's Power, Nation Save Your Legacy. Please see my list of solutions in the book of my books, Abortion. For example, abortion, Warren Buffett, stop, please listen. Our children are our future. What their education is in the community and home life will be our future. LGBTQT and transgender people should not be in the schools. The children are too young to decide as adults. And Warren Buffett, instead of putting money and doing the abortions, give money to when they're younger, 8 years old or younger, and begin a special training that they could each choose. I beg you, you can't put a stopper or just a temporary stitch on it that opens up and bleeds forever in their soul. Immediately, we need to begin at the table of life in the home, the community and church to stop communistic controls, wokeness, transgender, and injustice against children, families, and marriage. To stop Hitlerian diabolism, communistic leaders have been planning to destroy freedom of humanity, proven by the deliberation of crimes, and to name a few: human trafficking, abortion, wokeness, transgender, deformity of children's life and education, open borders, hardcore criminals, drugs, corporate censorship, fraudulent vote of 2020. They wanted to take President Trump down, and the team, conspiracies and crimes against humanity, Afghanistan, exit of crime against humanity, allowing ISIS a power to control, perhaps to sue them to stop their violence, and give billions of dollars of war tools and money. They give $40 billion. What is it? Or $1 million. What is it every week that they notice that the Doge under President Trump and Elon Musk and the team to find those issues that we were giving money to them. Hurricane and Russia war, a Holocaust of humanity we need to stop right away. CCP virus and the hurricane money that we give as much money as we could fix all the homeless houses in the entire United States. We need to stop this. And we printed the most money because of lockdowns. We went over this. CCP virus, Holocaust against humanity, and lockdowns want to destroy humanity and elderly and humans and all life existence. Because the CCP virus was actually targeted weak individuals and the elderly. CCP mandatory vaccinations. Now think about that legacy. Think about that. Think about that. We need to save our legacy. And they were trying to get after you, these people, these communists. And you still could vote. And you still could help us out with your beauty of what you developed in our country. In CCP mandatory vaccinations, death and diseases, infertility. These are stealthy evils of attempting to bring USA in control of others of economies in the world down by the acts of economy and trade and liberating culture and crimes against individuals, life, families, and what it means to be human and even marriage. Pharmaceutical and foods and control of world health controls, which our beautiful RFK is working on, that I've asked for many years about the pharmaceuticals that we need to stop right away, in the foods in every way, and the fertilizers and the EMFs and the spraying and the world health controls. Stop CCP buying agriculture land and control, threatening economic controls and digital currency. We still need to bring, allow the people cash, because they might not have a credit card with them or they live 1 hour to the next hour. It's not their fault that it's been world controls and CCP virus and CCP vaccinations and lockdowns and losing our country because of the evil of the CCP virus that was made in the lab to kill people. Stagnation of development of human authentic being. And that shows there's stagnation because we need to let our children think about their education and their being and creation, instead of focus on things that are sexuality and gender position and things on their phone and so forth. They need to have education of new education systems, which I showed you that the Chinese do for their children. Empower the people in justice and truth, in a life of compassion. God's divine sovereignty overpowers Hitlerian diabolism. And we need to realize, and there was a special nun called Saint Faustina. It's a Divine Mercy Church that's right next to the Vatican when you go visit. And it's called Church of the Santo Spirito, Borgo Spirito. And it has the Divine Mercy picture of Jesus. And you should go see it. And she said that we have to have divine mercy for all of us. This is very, very serious. And transgender is a secondary being and extremely liberal, and scientific secrets powers want to do scientific testings on humans. Moreover, these scientific people and people who want to be transgender are searching for a true life because they have not accepted God in a way. They were created as a perfect human being in his sight. God is compassion, forgives, and seeks to enter into a humble repentance and relationship. And this is why they need to wait till they get old enough to realize that these things are confusion. Today, we have a serious threat of death, of what it means to be human. From the abortion of a fetus and the breath of life, we have the highest abortion rate. They use the babies for scientific research. Transgender to control the world health decisions of controlling human mandates of vaccinations and medical treatments. Now, the measurement of AI, of artificial intelligence, how is it being used to identify and measure life, and scientific findings of all aspects of life are also important. That's why we need ethics. And AI doesn't have a soul. It does have much information, but doesn't have the authentic answers. Let the children think. Let the children think. Transgender, we need to realize, is a deformity. In this space of writing, we will only speak on it details we have. There are podcasts that I have spoken on this topic. A scientific experiment to investigate the human body. A deformed idea to form a new secondary being. A deformed idea to cause violence and division. A deformed idea to serve the mentality that is lesser than life, the meaning of what it means to be human. Division of the people, protesters pay for. And the protesters are paid by the hierarchies of the woke, are the ones that want to bring down America. But because of technology, the plans of actions that control human existence can be maneuvered and controlled and changed rapidly. Moreover, the economy and the health of a nation are predominantly controlled by emotional welfare and human emotions. God has allowed us to see all and all the things exposed from the crimes in each country and each government, because he wants us to realize that we need to live, work, and vote in justice, and conservative leaders and lawmakers and state, federal, communities, and business and educational leaders in every walk of life. that are the first working for justice. See, we have, brothers and sisters, a covenant. It's called the Continental Congress Prayer of 1774 that was given to the group of the men that they prayed to Jesus, and they said that they would follow his directions, and then in return that he would protect us. This is a true story. So we need to realize that we need to look and see and look at all the things that we have to protect our America. See, will not allow the children to think the truth instead of just following what is demanded. Okay, demanded by their teachers of what woke systems is, that they should be this, they should be that. However, it's essential that truth towards biblical precepts and definitions between God's intention for humans and human nature for the first substance of being, man and female. At the time, Professor Jaspers did not address issues of transgender. Professor Jaspers came back to Germany when Hitler left. That same thing, it's relative. When Biden and Kamala left and the Democratic team were pushed out by the grace of God to save our country, we also need to be like a Professor Karl Jasper to protect our nation and rededicate it to God and the truth and good precepts of education in many different levels formed today that need to be intricately considered on how children would be affected. Various movements, effects of children, environments, and definitions of education since the world has had many changes in human life of globalization, liberalism, blatantly world powers, exegesis of education and meaning of education and truth. And these are all talking about what I've said even in cultural belief systems do not always have the same belief system and even influence the modernity and the liberal sciences on what it means to be human. Even the drugs of cruelty, a promotion of them to be a stylistic influence. And Jasper believed that a limit resides in the fact that a man must not in any way calculate the dealings with others. So that means we cannot follow through what other people do, the sin of other peoples. The unique nature of Jasper's reflection on education becomes remarkably clear when he speaks of love as the driving force and actual authority as the source of genuine education. And love is allowing the person to be man or female, okay, girl or boy, and love him first or her first, what she is at that age. And if she decides or he decides to be transgender when they get old enough, okay, and they don't reach puberty until they're older anyways, then they could decide, but we shouldn't be responsible for transgender change sex makeup. This is not what our country was made out of anyways, and the way our country is alive. If they want to be transgender and they feel like they're not male or they're not female, they need to totally wait till they're adults, or and we should be responsible for the payment. And there should not be men and women's sports. This is very bad, and that's another subject that I wrote about. And no acceptance in transgender. Oh, here it is. Athletes need to be protected from ideological crimes defining contestants as men in women's sports or transgender men to women in women's sports. This is very serious. And children are innocent and need to grow in an environment of their original gender of birth. America, we are responsible for bringing proper ethics and what it means to be human. See, the spirit of responsibility of the past and future come truly into their own today because the postmodernity and the blatant liberal belief of truths of tradition, they are changing, and that's why we need to come back to the truth of what it is to mean be a boy or a girl. And this is why there has to be an excellent orderly teaching of pure history of facts of absolute, because then the genuine and true foundation of knowledge of imperceptibility to the origins will be. And I believe the people that are private schools that are allowed to put the Bible in, the Bible should be taught. I believe the Bible should be taught. It was taught. It was bought, and it was taught in the beginning of our school our schools, right? Our schools, but our country. That's why all the leaders, I'm not saying they're all perfect. We know there's deliberation of what's happened, how we attained America, but they all were trained in the Bible. That's why the Constitution has a reflection of the Bible, but because there wasn't so many books written, and the Bible was the first book written and printed, okay, by the at the time of the breaking off of the people from the Catholic Church. Are you with me? And so the Bible was one of the first books written and dispersed, but they bought a lot of Bibles when we first made America. So this is very important, and we need the list of this experimental practices ranges from skills and work and methods through physical training, clear speech, disciplined discussion, and an intellectual grasp of original contents in poetry, the Bible, and art, as well as understanding history and familiarity with the basic techniques of natural sciences. This is what young children need, and children through the education system. Our children are our future. Our children are our future, okay? There are other emergencies that need to be considered in transgenderism. Athletes are different. Gender compete on opposite gender. Transgender in teaching in school system. Sexual education do not teach children and teach authentic purpose. Woke systems look up the definition. What is woke? Do not promote LGBTQ. They're not old enough to realize what they want to be, and they should have books about it in the library at a certain age. And there needs to be undercover police to help them for the safety. And I believe that there should be, like when they enter into school, that they have to check they have no guns, and they need to take their phones away at a certain time, or they can't have their phones on or have it in the school system while they're studying. There's many things that I've talked about here about the transgender. We even change the substance that is not defined as a human of God's intention, yet deformity of a lie of what life is, such as transgender, competing in a beauty pageant of winning first prize, and an athlete who is transgender, who competes in athletic game and wins. That is terrible. Transgender, this is the deformity of the mind of men searching for curiosity that is man, not of God. Many of the transgender operations were and are performed in hospitals of high popularity and significance. This is transgender, is taking God's creation and corrupting it, and it is therefore really a death to the real first substance of being of humans. Transgender is the death to the first substance of being of God's intention. The elite community supports transgender. The elite liberal community supports transgender, and they are humans for their desire of deformity of life, of their ideas and belief system. Transgender is the murdering of the God intention of what it means to be male and female, and a reflection of abortion. Yet abortion of the United States of America is the third highest country of abortions in the world. After China and Russia is the greater evil, greater murder of the human seed of life. Scientists use babies in scientific studies, and even proven by the fact of Pfizer, high-level directors have accepted the use of babies for vaccinations and scientific testing. Transgender is taking God's creation and corrupting it, and therefore it really is death to the real first substance of being. Transgender is the death of the first substance of being of God's intention. The elite community supports transgender, and they use humans for their desire of deformity of the life, of their ideas, of the belief system of transgender. This is terrible. This book is a book we have to love. The ones that are already transgender, we have to love them of who they are, but we cannot mix them with the children in the school systems. And what are we going to do? They're going to be there in the school systems with the children. What are the laws? But we cannot do any transgender operations that we're responsible for. We need to consider the children and families and children that come out as a boy or a girl, and when they get older, they could choose for the transgender. We should be responsible for transgender surgeries, and also they should not be in They should not be in sports or beauty pageants. Now think about that. I'll put my phone down for a minute here to get my website because they control my computer. That it's very. I have to do it this way. They try to control corporate censorship. This is my website, Lucia Arden, political consultant and guard, solutions for USA. We're all supposed to be guards of America, and that's accepting that we need to put our families, our children first. In transgender, if people want to decide to be it, they could choose it when they're older, but we cannot have them in sports. A transgender man shouldn't be that was a man and becomes a woman should not be in sports in the reciprocal. We cannot have this. This is very serious. And this is the book, and here's a sweet little book about Jesus Christ, salvation for all. And this is the book that I just talked about here. This book called, it comes from In God's Power, America's Savior Legacy. So please give me a book review. It's not just about God, Bible verses or my belief system. God is justice, and our country, when we reflect justice, it's God's reflection of love. Just like Carl Jasper said, that love is the greatest thing in education, but love is telling the truth. Okay? It's telling the truth. Even if it hurts someone, even if you on accident make a partial mistake, it's better to love fully and not hold back love if you're not perfect, because love could overcome all things. And that's why I believe if we could get these children before they're 8 years old and get all that stuff out of the school system, and also have the artists, the musicians, and the art and all that to be more normal, and help ask the artists to help us. We could help our children, but they're too young to decide. And they shouldn't be in sports, and we should be responsible for them. And I always wanted to go and visit Maine. It's too bad that lady that's the leader of Maine, that she believes this. This is terrible. She could never realize what it takes to be an athlete in that level. You know, that's terrible. And for a man to be in, or someone that has high levels of testosterone in this part man, that's terrible. Think about it. Now think about it. This is a very terrible thing. We need to come together in truth. So I agree with President Trump.
Two weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue, because you'll never win another race. The NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it, because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.